It's Weekend America. I'm Matthew Algio.
And I'm Barbara Bogave. Every subculture has its own rules. I always find that fascinating. Take bluegrass musicians. It turns out bluegrass players have an intricate and highly evolved code they adhere to, and that would be the code of jamming. Break the rules at your peril, I hear.
Catherine Girardeau is a classically trained violinist, but she has always wanted to be the kind of musician who could sit down anytime, anywhere, and jam. She asked her friends for advice, and they had plenty.
Listening, looking for the eye contact.
Stay as close to the melody as you can because you have a responsibility to keep the train wreck from happening.
When it's your turn, don't be nervous, just go for it.
They will forgive you all the etiquette rules and help you through.
Always remember, it's about having a good time. You just gotta get out there and do it.
But it's one thing to get advice, it's another to actually act on it. Eventually, Catherine got the nerve to jam, so naturally she took a class.
Well, good morning and welcome to Jamming 101, the second installment. For those of you at your first class, it's going to be really slow and really mellow.
Sid Lewis was the answer to my prayers. His class, Jamming 101, was kind of a group therapy session for beginning jammers.
A lot of people seem to think that jamming consists of a bunch of hotshots, playing really fast and flashy, and that's the first misnotion I'm trying to dispel here. If you know a couple chords, and you have a good attitude about it, and you're willing to keep an open mind and learn on your feet, then anyone can jump in a jam circle. Anyone.
Sid calls himself the inventor of the 5 levels of jamming.
Level 1 is sitting and smiling.
I can do that.
If you don't know what the heck's going on, you can still be part of the jam and sit there and smile.
Level 2, rhythm. So we're going to warm up today with everybody on this offbeat. We're going to live on the ka of the polka. Polka, polka. What's that?
Number 3 would be where you actually learn the chord progression of a song. Level 4 is where you start to learn the melody and the chords.
2, G chords at the ready. G. C. Now G to G. G. D. Back to G. This is not the one on the board. Back to G. That's all it does.
This is no place for a perfectionist. But my friend's advice kept playing in my head.
It's your turn, go for it. Don't be nervous, just go for it.
Fiddle players, fiddle section.
Don't panic. Don't bolt. Don't freak out. It's just music. You can't break your arm. It's not a high contact sport.
My experience of when it was my turn to play a solo, I
The panic?
Well, I played, but I couldn't remember what I played. It was almost like I couldn't, it's like I was not present in my body.
That's natural, that we all have out-of-body experiences in jams, and the secret with that is repetition. Other jam survival tips, you gotta put some flight time in. You gotta get a couple hundred jams under your belt. There's no other way to get over that feeling. You have to subject yourself to that long enough where it kind of gets faded after a while.
2, 3, 4.
Somehow, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I remembered when I'd spent a year in Germany in college. After a few months, I'd learned enough German to sit around a dinner table and follow the conversation, but when someone asked me a question, I was tongue-tied. I felt like a 3-year-old in a grown-up's body. I could understand the language when I heard it, but I still couldn't express myself. That's how I felt after Jamming 101. I could kind of follow the structure of a bluegrass song, but there was only one way I was going to learn this new language. I had to swallow my pride and let myself be a beginner again. I had to sit in on a jam.
Catherine, this is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. You're Catherine? Yeah. So there's this cafe in my neighborhood that has a bluegrass jam a couple Sundays a month. I decided to check it out.
I hope I don't hold you guys back, but I really want to learn, so.
I was really nervous. I got there early. At first it was just me and a fiddle player named Ed. Ed told me he'd been playing for 40 years. He looked like he'd just stepped off a back porch somewhere, where people jam all day long to the drone of cicadas.
No, but it's really about rhythm.
I didn't have to tell him I was a classical player My velvet-lined violin case was the only clue he needed. I almost hoped he'd say, "Sorry, this is a closed jam," and send me home. Instead, he pulled his chair closer and asked me to play him a tune. "What have you got?" he said. "What have you got?"
I'm having a blank. I need to remember how old Joe Clark was. That's right. Okay, thanks. Still up.
Pretty soon a banjo player showed up, then a guitar, then a mandolin, then another banjo. They all knew each other but didn't seem to mind me. You can hear me in there. I'm the one who doesn't sound like a fiddler. I'm watching Ed's hands for dear life, wishing my fingers were as quick as my ears to pick up the gesture, the nuance, the groove. The white hairs of his bow are flashing out the rhythm in Morse code, but it feels like there's a split-second delay in my receiver. I'm really out of my depth here. My usual reference points are gone. No music to read, no conductor. My violin strings are tuned to notes they've never been tuned to before. But I'm riding it, riding that wave of sound. I'm catching the chord changes. I'm hearing those banjos on the offbeats. I'm sticking to the melody, and it feels great. Ed said he'd teach me some tunes if I came to the jam next time. I don't know if I will or not. I have to admit, I still don't love bluegrass music. I won't be sorry if I don't hear old Joe Clark again for a while. But I still can't quite believe I sat down with a group of total strangers in a cafe and made music.
Catherine Girardeau is a musician living in San Francisco.
Weekend America is directed by Jim Gates and produced by Heidi Pickman. The technical